So we're just days away from the Baltimore Ravens trotting into Buffalo for one of the biggest playoff games in recent history against the two top leading MVP candidates, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. We also have Lamar Jackson with a awesome quote. He talks about the assignment, the mission of going into Buffalo, and talking about the last time they were in Buffalo during a playoff game, if that still stings. And if that still provides motivation, man, you got to hear his response.
Last playoff game matter to you? Do you?
Yeah. I just saw it. Like I just see a little clip they always like to post. Like they like to throw that out, that little interception return. Yeah. That's all I'm gonna say about that, though.
All right, thank you, Lamar.
He also talks about the weather. He talks about Rashad Bateman, the crowd noise, and then John Harbaugh addresses this game. Mark Andrews sends a bold statement that, hey, man, it's wartime. So we also got Deontay Johnson being claimed back by the Ravens, which we'll detail more why here in a few minutes. Some other great little insights and nuggets and stats for this game and more. So welcome into another episode of Ravens Reports. It's your guy Noah here with For the Flock. As always, bringing you guys our top 5 news reports and storylines coming out of our Ravens today. This is going to be a legendary game. You guys already know how I feel about it, how the matchups, I think, favor the Baltimore Ravens. The sports odds makers are agreeing with that, as the Ravens have changed to 1-point favorites after originally being 1-point underdogs despite going on the road to play Buffalo. But at number 1, John Harbaugh talks about the weather. So whenever kickoff comes, it's going to be anywhere from 10 to 17 degrees based off the weather projections. It's going to be cold. There's some slight possibility for some snow, which would make that kind of fun as well, with Derrick Henry and Lamar running around in the snow. But the Ravens had practice today. You can see they were practicing in their indoor facility. However, they kept all the doors open, so that way it was cold. The only reason they didn't practice in their outdoor field because the actual field itself was frozen. So their indoor one was salt enough to practice on, but still able to have the garage doors open and everything to keep it cold in there. And John Harbaugh said that tomorrow it'll be even colder in there. But here's what John Harbaugh had to say about the weather.
Our players, our coaches, then the environment, the elements, the noise that we're going to face, all those things will be big challenges for us, but we're excited about it, and we're looking forward to going up there and really playing our best football game of the season, one play at a time. Well, there's a big difference as far as the temperature, because I'm out there and I can vouch for that. But as far as the game itself, no. We got it as cold as we can in here right now, and it'll be colder in here tomorrow when I get all the water shut off in here so the pipes don't freeze. So we'll even be colder, so we'll have it cold. Love to be outside, but we just can't. The fields are too hard and they're too frozen. But we'll get to work in. We've had a lot of work in the cold. We've got a lot of work in the wind. And the elements are part of it, and the other thing is going to be the footing on their field. We're thinking about that too. We want to make sure we've got good footing on that field. It's a turf field, and it'll be hard and kind of frozen. So we're trying to think about all that. But really, what we're thinking about is just executing our plays at the highest level we possibly can.
Have you share of big road wins since you've been here? What are some of the other things aside from weather that you emphasize going into this?
Well, just kind of what we're talking about in terms of operating and executing is the main thing. I mean, you've got to operate under duress. It's the duress of the opponent. It's also the duress of the environment, and it's really the noise as much as anything, especially for the offense. But that's a two-way street. I mean, we have it at our stadium. Our defense has to operate that way too, and both groups have to deal with communication with noise. So being on the same page, but also being on the same page of the snap count and things like that, trying not to put ourselves in 1st and 15, those kind of things is very important.
Harbaugh talks about some crowd noise factors there and says this, hey, it's not just one way. If the Buffalo crowd is going crazy for the Ravens offense to try to force false starts and miscommunication and stuff, well, guess what? There's the other half of the football players on the field there that are also dealing with that noise, and that's the defense. And the Ravens have been able to confuse defenses a lot this year with motions, and especially in the run game this year, thinking that it's going to go to one side, it goes to the other side, confusing motions and stuff like that. But at number 2, Lamar Jackson addresses the media, and you got to hear several of these quotes here. We'll kind of go back and forth, but the first thing I want you guys to hear is on the assignment of heading into Buffalo.
Lamar, how can you describe this vibe, excitement going into, against Bills?
The same as last week. I feel like our guys just locked in. Playoff atmosphere is pretty much serious around the building. Our guys we've been joking, but like not that much. Guys just locked in because, like I said, a lot of us was here last year and we know like what's at stake for us.
So he says, hey, it doesn't change from last week, playing Pittsburgh. I don't know if you guys saw some of the clips coming out from Hard Knocks and from Ravens Wired, but Lamar said 3 more. He said, I'm on a mission. I'm hungry. And that was straight from his mouth. Lamar Jackson is focused, and he remembers exactly what happened the last time they went into Buffalo, whenever the ball was hiked over his head, when there wasn't a lot of playoff experience, whenever you didn't have Todd Monken. The list goes on, but he remembers exactly what happened. Here's what he had to say on that.
Last playoff game matter to you?
Yeah. I just saw it. Like I just see a little clip. They always like to post, like they like to throw that little interception return. Yeah. That's all I'm gonna say about that, though.
All right, thank you, Lamar.
Now, the last clip I want to show you here is him talking about the weather and also talking about his guy, Rashad Bateman. Go ahead and take a listen.
Even colder in Buffalo than it was last weekend here. What will you do to manage that?
Hopefully we have some heaters on the sideline. Bigger jacket, probably. I got to talk to Kaneko to see what he got going on. Equipment guys, they pretty much do a great job though, so we should be good.
But you don't do gloves under any circumstances.
No, I tried it in practice. I was horrible. Leave that up to Teddy, two gloves. Teddy Bridgewater.
All
Shout
the
out to
joking
Teddy.
aside, it seems like you do handle the cold weather pretty well. I mean, being a Florida guy and everything.
Yeah, man, I'm trying to win, so it really don't matter. I can't go into a game and be like, man, it's too cold. I can't make things happen. Coach, them probably send me home. Eric, them be probably trying to come, have me go upstairs and talk to him and stuff. So I got to lock in the cold.
Lamar, what do you think has made Rashad Bateman such a reliable red zone threat this season?
Man, him just being him. Like we got plenty of film on Bateman just getting open on guys, but the ball wasn't going his way, because it was always out my hands or it's pressure or something backside, so he wasn't able to get the ball. But us just watching film and just building chemistry over and over, day in, day out, and him just being the best player he can be, he's just lighting things up, making my job a lot easier, getting open even more, and we got a lot of guys on our offense, man, tight ends, a lot more receivers, running back, so it's hard to keep an eye on one guy.
At number 3, check it out. The Baltimore Ravens have claimed Deontay Johnson off the waivers again. This is the second time this year that the Ravens have made a transaction for Deontay Johnson. You guys can remember they traded for him earlier in the year from Carolina. They released him because of the locker room stuff. Then he was picked up by the Texans. The Texans released him, and now the Ravens have picked him up. However, they know he's never going to play another snap in purple again. The only reason why he was claimed was for compensation purposes. He actually isn't even eligible to play with the Ravens until after the Super Bowl. So after the league year is over is whenever he'll actually be on the team. But then he'll become a free agent whenever the new league year opens in March. And if he signs a deal somewhere else, he could return a compensatory pick to the Baltimore Ravens. It also essentially ends his season because the Ravens picked him up again. He can't play until after the Super Bowl. The Ravens have all of his control, so he can't sign. He can't be claimed by Kansas City or Detroit or any of the other top teams that the Ravens could be competing for with the Super Bowl. So the Ravens, by claiming him, ended his season and possibly get a compensatory pick in the 2026 draft. So Eric DeCosta making big boy moves, thinking with his brain a little bit after he was released by the Texans and into the waiver wire. At number 4, Mark Andrews. He says it's wartime. He was asked about the mentality about how he never wears sleeves and stuff in these cold weather matchups. Here's what Mark Andrews had to say on this game.
These are two teams that are used to cold type weather. It's all business for us, and we're not going to be thinking about that.
Do you have a mental process that you go through when the conditions are going to be rough? I mean, you seem like a no sleeves guy pretty much any time of year, but how do you get in that headspace?
It's wartime. It's time to go to war. It's accepting anything and everything.
So the last time the Baltimore Ravens played the Buffalo Bills, they didn't throw the ball a lot. The guy who got the majority of the receiving work was running back Justice Hill. He had 6 catches for 78 yards and a touchdown. Isaiah Likely had 1 catch for 26 yards. Rashad Bateman had 1 catch for 23 yards, big pickup. I believe that was on a big third down play as well. Derrick Henry had 3 catches for 10 yards and a touchdown. So both of the touchdowns went to the running backs in the passing department. And then on the ground, Lamar Jackson had 6 carries for 54 yards and touchdown. Justice Hill had 4 for 18. Derrick Henry had 24 carries for 199 yards and a touchdown, averaging 8.3 yards per pop. So the game plan, obviously, Lamar Jackson only threw the ball 13 times in the first matchup in Week 4. These are 2 different teams, but I don't think the game plan is going to change a lot. The Bills are, I think, 19th in the NFL in yards per carry allowed to the running back, 4.5 yards per attempt. Matt Milano and TJ Edwards, they're 2 linebackers that start in the middle. They are smaller linebackers. They're not like big guys. They're more the run hybrid athletic type of linebackers and aren't necessarily known for coming downhill in the run game. But they're going to have their hands full with Patrick Ricard and Derrick Henry coming downhill. The Ravens and their 22 personnel, their 13 personnel, 12 personnel are going to be able to run the ball effectively, in my opinion. And the Ravens on the other side have the best run defense in the National Football League. And if you shut down the Bills' run game, it shuts down a lot of the Bills' offense, their concepts that are built off of it. In the first matchup, James Cook only had 9 carries for 39 yards at 4.3 a pop. However, Josh Allen was also held in check in the run game, 5 carries for 21 yards, averaging 4.2 a pop. So the Ravens did a heck of a job defending the run, and that was without Michael Pierce. All right, so Michael Pierce and Andrew Voorhees were inactive in that first game. However, in the second game, they'll have Michael Pierce, but they won't have their wide receiver 1 in Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers, like we said, we went through the receiving stats earlier, he didn't make a big impact in that game, 1 catch for 10 yards. Rashad Bateman had more of an impact with 1 catch for 23 yards. But the original point is Mark Andrews talking about it's wartime, and I think him and Isaiah Likely are going to make some big plays in this game, matched up on some safeties and linebackers, especially with the amount of effort the Bills might go to try to sell out against the run and stop Derrick Henry and make Lamar win through the air. I think the play action is going to have some potency to it, and I think you'll see Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely both making some big plays in this game. And like we said, our guy Mark, he's ready for war. You know his mentality. This entire team's mentality right now is so locked in. John Harbaugh has a lot of success going into hostile environments in the playoffs. We saw it. He was one of the few coaches back in the Tom Brady era that was ever able to go to Foxborough and beat Tom Brady in the playoffs on the road. And I think what happened the last time in the playoffs, it's burning in his mind and in Lamar Jackson's mind what happened when they went to Buffalo. And I think things are going to be different this time. But let me know all of your thoughts in the comment section below. Another key aspect here is Deontay Hardy is practicing. The entire roster for the Ravens was practicing besides wide receiver Zay Flowers. Deontay Hardy has missed a lot of time this year with injuries, but he used to play for Buffalo as an all-pro type returner. So he could be back as the returner, trying to get some revenge on his former Buffalo team. Another guy that's a former Buffalo Bill is Tre'Davious White, and he could find himself with some one-on-one matchups because I think that's going to have to be the game plan for the Buffalo Bills is isolate Brandon Stevens or Trey White one-on-one for the jump balls to Keon Coleman and Amari Cooper because the other corners are playing really well, and the run defense is playing great. So you're probably going to want to take your shots down the sideline. That's probably the biggest weakness on the Ravens defense right now. So as always, man, smash the like button if you got any value out of today's content. I love you guys. I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video.
when he wasn't looking, he ran me over.